Hello there, everyone. Episode 45 is now upon us in our Enigmatica 6 expert playthrough. The building behind me is a more complete, not fully complete, but more complete biodiesel plant. Let me go ahead and show you what has happened in between the last episode and now. And actually, let me just give a really quick recap. In the last episode, we wanted to start making biodiesel automatically. So step one was to get this hose pulley over here pumping water out, and the water comes in this way. So when we run around into the inside of our building, we're gonna see everything that's going on. Aha! Wow, there's lots of stuff in here. Okay, let's actually start with the mushrooms. So I did show this modular router off last time, and I had an issue. The issue that I had was occasionally it would harvest a mushroom and not replant it. Well, I've solved that problem. I thought it was my magnet. It was not the magnet. It was actually the order of modules. So I used to have it go break. So the brake was front, and then the activator was second, and then it would go brake, activator, and all the way finally to the sender at the back. But what we actually needed to happen were the brakes need to happen at the end, so it can only break a mushroom at the end of the process. And if we come in here, we'll see terminate on match. So if it breaks this red mushroom, it will not break any other mushrooms. It'll break the mushroom, it'll terminate and go all the way back to the beginning, in which case it will replant the red mushroom and then send the extra up to the top. So it will never be able to break another mushroom unless its buffer is empty. Very important. That is the solve here. And you can see mushrooms are growing all around it, which is fine. So that comes up here, we get our mushrooms going, and this makes it into the yeast processing plant. The yeast processing plant is now hooked up to a computer, and the computer is actually able to determine everything that needs to happen. And you can see we have yeast production is on, and that means we have mushrooms. We have mushrooms available. We can see how much yeast is currently in the yeast tank and the capacity. I haven't actually done the percent just yet. I was thinking about doing something fancy with it, but we might just go with a number. We show the heat being off or on, and right now it's off. The heat for yeast needs to be between 30 Celsius and 60 Celsius. So I have this currently running. If it goes below 40, it'll turn the heat back on, and if it goes above 50, it'll turn the heat off. So we always stay in the range. The same thing works for the heat down on ethanol. Of course, we're off though because we don't have any sugar. That's not automated. Our ethanol plant over here, it does have sugar in here, but unfortunately Computer Craft can't get out of these blocks like what's inside them. It can get the heat, it can get the pressure, but it can't get how much fluid is in there or how many items. So we're only checking on the sugar drawer. So this is something that we're going to have to get automated, is automated sugar. But let's go ahead and go downstairs real quick, which the basement is not finished. But we have vortex tubes down here. This is how we're doing the heat. It was suggested that maybe we could use a block of uranium or something like that. But the problem with any of those sort of like heat blocks is they don't cap, right? So if you put the heat block underneath the TPP up here, it'll just heat it way above 60 and then you'll never be able to get it back down. So we have to have a smart system. The smart system has to know like, hey, when do I turn heat on and when do I turn heat off? And that's what this is doing. The redstone integrator. It knows a north side, which is for our yeast, and it knows a south side, which is for our ethanol. And we can see the power is 15. When we use the pressure tube regulator module, 15 means don't let any sort of pressure through, so we never power our vortex tube. However, we might be able to see it over here. What's the current temperature? What is it? 40, it's about to turn back on, right? So when it does, this power is going to change to 14. 14 means we're going to let a little tiny bit. Aha, 14. See, now we're at 14 power. Receiving redstone 14. Threshold is 0.3 bar. It's only letting a very, very small amount of pressure through into the vortex tube, which is heating our heat pipe that goes up into the TPP. This will actually quickly heat it. Look, we're already at 50. Which now it's going to shut itself off. 51, we come back over here, power back to 15, no pressure through, this is all shut off. So that's fully automated, pretty sweet. To show off more, we do have a pressure chamber down here. This is just to hold additional pressure. We are actually powering this whole pressure system off of the biodiesel that we're creating, which is pretty neat. We also need pressure up here. This is our seed processor, which has no seeds at the moment. And this over here is for our fluid mixer, which mixes the vegetable oil and the ethanol. Let's go back upstairs real quick. So that's where we are. I don't have this whole screen finished yet. I haven't even fully decided exactly everything else I want on here. But we can also see our vegetable oil production. We don't have anything hooked up to our seeds, and that's going to be something we want automated as well. Once it knows how many seeds are in here, we'll be able to say like whether or not the system's on or off. Sort of the same thing with glycerol. We're producing the glycerol, which if we come into our quest book, right, we needed that glycerol. That was a quest item for making bandages. So the biodiesel was like a nice output. We didn't necessarily need the biodiesel, but we needed the drop of glycerol. So now we have that automated, and we'll go back and see it. The yeast turns into ethanol. The ethanol comes into this tank here, which mixes in the fluid mixer to make biodiesel and glycerol. Our glycerol gets output up here. Check this out. We already have 28.5 stacks of glycerol up there. 1,827. We have enough for our craft. And then this one here processes seeds from this one, comes in here. The vegetable oil goes in here. Vegetable oil comes out here, again, mixes together, and our biodiesel comes out. Goes into our biodiesel tank. This tank can then output over here, which will go down to the liquid compressor powering the system. Anything extra, that actually also has a high priority module, so everything goes in there first. But anything extra will come out and come over here. We have 2 additional little things set up. These are not set up for automation just yet. They're really basic. This right here is biodiesel and redstone. When we get this above 100 degrees, which we are going to do in just one moment, we'll start producing lubricant. We don't need a whole lot of lubricant, so we're using a tiny fluid tank there. I don't care. This one over here, though, we're going to use a lot. Charcoal with biodiesel will produce liquid plastic, and that's what we have this whole tank for. So let's go ahead and kick our system off. I'm thinking like 2 charcoal is probably enough. This I do plan to fully automate as well. However, for right now, since we don't need to go any further, we just have a fuel wood heater. I'm going to go ahead and throw that charcoal in. It's going to start heating both sides. And when it does, everything up above should start operating. Let's take a peek. We're almost there. Almost there. And here comes our plastic. This is great. Now we have a much quicker and easier way of getting ourselves liquid plastic. Molten plastic, okay, whatever. We can convert that maybe into liquid plastic. Let's take a peek. Okay, it seems molten plastic is the name. I was just confusing it with liquid plastic. Same thing. We will eventually have a system as well that pulls this plastic out and runs it through a system in order to create our plastic sheets. Because all we need to really do is cool it. And once we cool it, it turns into the plastic sheets. It's only been like 1 minute and our lubricant tank is already full. So this system over here is now just going to fill up here, and then it's going to get a full stock of biodiesel, and then it's going to stop. It's not going to keep doing anything else. It will continue getting our heat from downstairs. That might be something that we change up, so we power these or we heat them separately, sort of like we do over here. But we want to use the fuel wood heater just because it gets so much hotter than the vortex tube and it doesn't take anywhere near as much pressure. So speaking of our sugar needs, right, we have a couple different ways that we could acquire sugar. One way is sugar cane, right? If we have a big sugar cane field, we could auto process that into sugar and then ship it over to our factory over here somehow. There is another way, and I haven't fully decided exactly how I want to do it, but I got to show you something else I've been working on. Here is our apiary building, which you know and love, but it is now expanded. I haven't fully cleaned up the drawers just yet, and not all of these have bees in them. However, we went from 4 apiaries, right, to 8. So we've doubled our amount of bees that we can have in our system, and with that, we've included a whole bunch of extra drawers and all that kind of stuff. The underbelly of the apiary looks basically the same with our drawers here, and then we basically route the trim to the different drawer systems. However, we haven't gotten there just yet. I don't have a whole lot of extra bees I need just yet, but so something we could do, right? So when we're processing things, right, we're constantly getting these honey bottles. We could, of course, pump out directly into a tank instead of the bottles, but something that doing honey bottles gives us the ability to do if we want to is we can come in here and we can craft them into sugar, and we get our bottles back. So we could automate pumping the sugar, or the honey, out of the bottles into sugar, and then sending that sugar over. And it is a lot closer than wherever we might do our field, so that might be an option. So let's go ahead and take a peek, right? We do have a bunch of extra yeast now, 7,200 millibuckets of yeast in our yeast tank. We have 0 sugar. When I come over here and I go ahead and put our sugar in the system, it now automatically quickly changed. We now say 422 and the system is on. Our heat is on. We're getting it above 30. We're actually going to take this all the way up to 50, of course, and then shut that heat back off. With our additional sugar in place so that our machine keeps running, we're going to take out like 4 stacks of this glycerol and take it back to the base so we can start working on our quest. So we need 20 bandages, right? 5. We need to run a cardboard box through 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to need to get 5 of these compressed iron drill bits, which, interestingly enough, take the lubricant, which we are now making. And then we're going to need 5 of these pneumatic jackhammers, which are some of these other materials. So I'm going to craft all of this up, and then we're going to get ready for crafting the construction tools. With everything crafted, we're back to our temporary belt system here, and we just gonna put all of our pneumatic jacks in the top there, and then we go all of the compressed iron drill bits, and then from there we do 1 of each of these bandages, and we should just throw our cardboard box in here and be good to go. Construction tools created. Alright, we are now only 1 more item away from being able to get to everything that the medium machinery schematic will unlock. However, this item is going to be a bit trickier, right? Because we have so many more items that we're going to need to craft. In order to do this, we also will need to do a lot of different kinds of automated farms. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to start, right? There's like builder's tea, any kind of leaves, water, milk. You know, I'm thinking that I'd like to start with our vegetable curry. So this vegetable curry takes curry powder, rice, which we have rice already. We actually might have enough rice, but we should probably still try to automate it. And then it seems like any kind of vegetable can go here. So potato, anything, right? The curry powder, let's start there though. We're gonna need cumin seeds, we're gonna need ginger, and then we're gonna need either habanero or pepper. I believe the habanero is a rare drop from the pepper plant. So we're gonna start on creating a farm field for these items. For our pepper and cumin farm, we need to do some tests. There are many different mods in the game that would let us do auto farming, and the one that I want to play with, the one that I want to really try, is Pneumatic Craft's drones, right? We have harvesting drones and we have collector drones. And the way that these really work is you deploy a harvester drone and you give it a hoe, and when you give it the hoe, it will harvest and replant the crop. Now, it doesn't pick anything up, and that's where the collector drone comes in. The collector drone will pick the things up. So let's go ahead and give it a try. Spoiler, I've already done this and it's not going to work how I wanted it to. So first we go ahead and we grab our iron hoe and we stick it in here. This is another thing too. I couldn't find a modded hoe that would work with this system. So that's a little unfortunate, right? Because we can't get like Tetra, improvements or sort of, do a Tinker unbreakable hoe or anything like that. Couldn't get those to work. So here we are. We're going to put our harvesting drone on here. And I have put some upgrades in there. A standby upgrade and 2 volume upgrades. Watch what's going to happen. Oh, and by the way, we have cumin right here in the front. And on the sides in the back, this one's not done. But we have peppers. Okay, So here we go. I place it down. It's going to pick the hoe up, which it's already done. And then it's going to look around and it's going to go, oh, I have some things to harvest. Aha. Did we see what happened? It picked up everything and replanted everything but the cumin. And now it said, oh, I'm on standby, so it's dropped. That's what happened there. Now, why did it do this? You know, I'm really not entirely sure. What I gather are that these cumin seeds are different than other plants because they don't give a plant. They actually give seeds. So when you harvest these, you get seeds. You don't get peppers, which you can turn into seeds. You just get more cumin seeds. And then I'll show you how the collector drone would work. If there were items in this, it would actually use it as a filter. But without items, it'll just say, oh, when you place it down, it says, oh, this is my home base. And you could actually come here. I'm going to grab these pepper seeds and just go da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it will now start to pick them up. And after it gets them all, it's going to put them in the chest, and then it's going to go back into standby. So like this collector drone works just fine for our purpose. It's really just, unfortunately, the harvesting drone. Now, we have an option. If we still want to use drones, which I still kind of want to use these drones, there is, if we come in here, right? So there's the logistics and there's harvesting drone, which we'll collect these rewards here in a moment. But over this way, the programmable drone. So the drone and the programmer. With the programmable drone, you can do all sorts of crazy, fancy things. And I think we're going to be able to do something here. So with the way that the modded plants work, all you have to do is right-click them to harvest. And you don't have to replant it. So it got me thinking, the harvester drone is kind of useless, right? We don't really need to use a hoe. We don't need it to break and then replant the plant. What if we just get a normal drone that we program to fly around a field and just right-click on the plants? It'll just do that. And then if I wasn't here, in fact, let me just go ahead and take my magnet off, right? If I wasn't here with a magnet, when I right-click this, it pops out, and then this guy should wake up, which it did. So that's what we have to play around with now, the programmable drones. And by the way, to like pick these guys back up, it's just right-clicking them. And it says, your drone has died, which makes it sound way worse than it really was. Now then, our normal drone is actually sitting here on top of the programmer, and then in this box we have 64 puzzle pieces, and these puzzle pieces are what you use in order to do the programming. I've never actually used this before. I don't know the best way to do it. We could actually have this guy right-click to harvest and replant all in one, basically, and then pick the items up and drop them off. We don't even need the collector drone. We may still stick with the two-drone system. I don't know. It's going to be something I have to play around with, and then we'll come back. But let's take a quick peek in here. There's difficulty over here, and really you want to see advanced because advanced is going to have all of the pieces in it. Only basic widgets enables conditions, jump, and labels, and then this enables coordinates and variables. And I think we really are going to need the coordinates so we can section off an area that this thing is going to be able to tend to the crops to. When we hit the tab button opens the whole, like, programming menu, right? And what we need to do, again, I've never done this before, but we need to start the program. Hold on, I, like, dropped it. Okay, so here we go. Here's our start button. No piece connected. I'm thinking the next thing that we need to do is, well, we are going to need it to right-click things. So, here's our right-click. I'm going to just drag it and drop it here. Now, something to note is I believe that has consumed a puzzle piece, but I don't really know. Let's check. We still have 64. It might not consume the puzzle pieces until we, like, write. Aha! Required puzzle pieces 2, available 64. And there's 2 errors. Yeah, 2 errors, right? We don't have this connected or anything. But we need this to do a couple things, right? We need this to patrol an area. We need this to go to a recharging station when it's low on pressure. And we need this to potentially pick things up and then drop them in a chest. So I'm going to play around with this a little bit and show you what I get. It took me a bit longer to figure out how to do the actual drone programming, but it's really not that difficult, and I was making it a little bit more complicated. So our base is over this way, this is our Attuned portal, and then behind the Attuned portal, this is where our farming field is going to be. So if we take a look over here, boom, I've already got it sort of started. All right, we have our peppers in this area here. We have our ginger in that area back there, and our cumin is over here. I could have probably just used a normal harvester for these ones and had the specific programmed drone do this ones. But you know what? Turns out with the programmed drone, we don't need to worry about hose and replacing them. So here we are. This is what we have, and we're going to show you the drones real quick. I'm using this old witch hut as a temporary mini base. And I have my drone programmer in here. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of these programs. First, we're going to look at Plant Gatherer 1. This picks up all of the drops. And then there's a chest right there. And it goes to that chest and it deposits them. And we'll eventually have to have a collection system. So here we are. And I want to do one thing real quick. This is the GPS tool. And I'll show you how these work, actually. What you do is you right click and it makes a red spot, and you left click it and it makes a green spot. And this is the whole area that you want to do. You can shift right click with it, and you can actually change point 1 and point 2 their actual chords. You can also give it a variable. I haven't done this, and I don't know if we need to do this, but here we are. So I've got this. I have this actually set for the whole area, so the Plant Gatherer 1 can pick up all the items. I actually expanded it 1 block larger than the whole field in case drops fall outside. I was noticing that with the cumin seeds. So we're going to come in here, and I'm going to update this. And the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to take our GPS tool, and I'm going to click on our area box, and it's just going to update those numbers slightly, which it did. So this program, all it does is it does a start, and then it says, hey, I should pick up items, and I don't have any extra configuration here, in this area. So that area, if we come here, I can actually hit preview area and it'll show the whole space, which is what we just saw on the GPS tool, of course, because we use that GPS tool to create this area. And then we're going to say, hey, after we pick up items, we're going to go to an export to inventory. And this is just saying export up. And it has an area where the inventory is. And to do that, we just took a GPS tool, not the area tool, but the normal GPS tool, clicked on the chest, and then put it here on an area tag. After this, it goes into standby. Means it won't use any more pressure, and it'll actually fall to the ground. And then it'll stay there until it finds something else to pick up. And this actually, because it always deposits on the top of the chest, it basically just goes to standby on top of the chest. So here we are. You hit the export program button, and that will write anything in here. Let's go ahead and take a look at our pepper farmer. When you place it in here, you hit the import, and it changes. Man, I was trying to do some really complex things in here. I thought I needed like a condition block. I thought we had to have this in here, and I thought we had to like check for any blocks to be, and then you had to have like an item filter on the side and say any block was a pepper. No, you don't need that at all. Just kind of throw it away. All you need is this here. This is a right click. We're just saying click on the closest one to you. Operation, click block. Not instead of click item, it's click block. And you have to specify an item filter. We put in the pepper. Now this is very specifically saying, hey, if it's a pepper, not a pepper seed, because the normal item can also drop, or the ungrown pepper plant can drop seeds. So you want to make sure you use the pepper. And it just has an area as well. This area, if I preview, is smaller. This is just where our pepper field is, not the other fields. And then after it does that, it just goes to standby. And if it will, cycle back up and around. And this is pretty simple and easy. And you don't have to do any code in this programmer for going back to a recharge station. That's all handled automatically by the drone. So we're going to pull this out. The ginger farmer, I'll put it in here and show you. It's exactly the same, just a different area and a different item that it filters on. The cumin farmer, however, is a little different. Let's take a look at this. Because the way cumin works, it only drops seeds. There's no like cumin plant that you gather. So we do something very similar. This one, instead of closest, I have low to high, which means it should process the whole field basically in a row. And we're going to right click it. We're going to click on block, not item. And then we have the area specified again. But this says the cumin seeds. Well, the ungrown cumin plant will also give you the cumin seeds, which means it would always continually right click every single cumin plant, even if it wasn't done. So what we do is we do it this way. It's going to go through the whole field and right click on everything. And then it's going to go into standby, and then it's going to wait. All right, and you put a text tag on the side. And I have this set currently for 5 minutes. We might adjust this higher or shorter, but this is going to wait for 5 minutes. And after the 5 minutes, it's going to go all the way back up, and it's going to right click on everything again. So there are 4 of our programmed drones, and I have some extras here, and I'll probably just throw them in this chest for now. But I imagine, right, we'll expand this field out quite a bit. We'll have a whole nice growing area, and we'll need a nice storage location over here, and then we'll eventually try to figure out how to ship items from here back over there. Now, let's go ahead and drop the items down and see how they work. Let's start off with, actually, the plant gatherer. So again, this one, he's going to pick up items when they're in the area. There are no items to pick up, so he stops. This is our pepper farmer. We have plenty of peppers that are actually ready for harvest, so as soon as I place this guy, he's going to go. And then our plant gatherer just goes and picks up all the items right behind him. We'll wait for him to finish before we move on to the next one. One thing I would like to do is get a speed upgrade on the gatherer. The planter doesn't need the speed upgrade, or the harvester doesn't need it, but the gatherer does, especially if it's going to be harvesting or gathering from multiple fields. But you'll see, now that it's picked up all the potential items, it goes to the chest, it deposits them in the chest, and then it sits down on it because it's ready to be done. Our next one is the cumin farmer. So, actually, let's do the ginger one first. This ginger one's going to work exactly like the pepper one does. It goes up, it's going to go back to our ginger field, start harvesting, which we can see happen, and again, the gatherer picks up behind. Now, the cumin one is different, so when we go down, it's going to just go and right-click every single cumin plant in the area. And then after it clicks all the cumin plants in the area, there it goes. Goes into standby, and now it should be in there for 5 whole minutes before it gets up and does anything again. Now then, we have some safety measures in our fields. I have these trapdoors sitting on top of the water sources, because if the pepper farmer, for instance, were to fall in the water, it would die. You can upgrade them with a security upgrade, and if you give it 1, it will allow it to work in water. If you give it 2, it will temporarily remove the water while it's like in the area, which we wouldn't want. And if we gave it 3, it would actually totally remove the water if it flew into that section. This here is our very temporary liquid compressor. We just have some refined fuel. We have the whole normal setup here where we have the pressure gauge and then the output so it doesn't run when it doesn't need to. And we have a charging station. And in order for the charging station to work, you do need to have a dispenser upgrade. And the drones have, I believe it's an 80 block range. I haven't actually fully checked that, but I think it's 80 blocks. It will find a charging station when they're low, and it'll just land on top. I have an extra volume upgrade here and some speed upgrades to help charge them a bit faster, but I probably want to upgrade that even further when we get our actual system, and we're probably going to want it to be more centralized. This is really just the testing proof of concept. So here we are with our whole farming setup, and yeah, like I was saying, we're going to expand this out quite a bit and gather a whole bunch of other crops as well, not just these ones. But these were the first ones that we needed in order for the vegetable curry to make the curry powder. Of course, we still need to get rice automated and some other kind of vegetable, right? We could even use peppers here if we really wanted to. I just made 24 of these crop supports. This might be something that we fully fill our crop fields with. When placed on soil or dirt, this will improve the growth speed of any crop or tree that grows there. Yeah, so we're gonna throw that over there. It's gonna help our system get a little faster. We now have an Atum portal teleport as well. Again, helps us get over here faster. They're now in, and apparently you can see little tiny green particle effects on occasion, like that one right there. And that's just an indication that it is working. we're now at the wrapping up point of this episode. Look forward to in the future, right? We need to get a storage system set up for this whole area and how we're going to navigate items from here back to a processing facility, right? To do crafting and to put them into locations and all that sort of stuff. But in between episodes, I'm going to set up a few more items that we want to farm. So one thing that we need over here, right, is we are going to need rice. We've already seen rice or wheat. We'll probably get a wheat field going as well. And then plums. Plums, and there's also mangoes as well in another part of this recipe. And they come off of these trees, right? I believe we can probably do the same thing we've done with these guys over here. If we set up the tree, and then we say, hey, right-click on anything that can give you a plum, it should right-click on the tree leaves, and then we can have them deposited. So this is going to be farm fields and orchard and all sorts of other things. Hope you're enjoying the slightly different episode format, right? We are working on progression, but we're working a lot more on automation and more, honestly, permanent forms of automation. And this is going to continue, right? After we get this whole engineering student meal going, we're going to have some interesting food things automated that we can actually just eat. Builder's tea, which does some things like motivates you and gives you saturation. We'll have golden apples potentially automated. The golden apples are maybe a little bit more difficult because we need to have honeyed apple, not too hard, but the arcane gold blocks, I don't know if we're ready to automate this yet. Because, of course, we need soul shards, and we don't have anything for that just yet on the automation. Not that we couldn't, we just don't yet. But I can't wait to see you in the next one, when we continue on with our processing, crafting, storing, transporting, all of the items that we've now automated in this episode. Oh, another thing we gotta do is we gotta figure out how to get fuel over here from our biodiesel plant. See you then. Mercs Rain signing off.